Thank you, Miguel. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elodie. I come from Liège in Belgium. I first wanted to thank you for organizing such a nice, interesting conference and for hosting such a friendly family of the night studies. And I'm very happy to be here to present my research. I'm a PhD student in management sciences in Belgium, and today I'm going to present not one paper, but the main thread of my doctoral research, so that I can get your suggestions, points of view from different disciplines to beat up my ideas and to improve my work. My work is not directly connected to the main theme that is querying the night of the conference, but mostly related to night studies and management of the nocturnal environment. So let's get to that. And let's get balancing needs for darkness and light. So nature is experiencing a number of challenges. I don't teach you or you don't learn anything new there. Rockström and his colleagues, a team of Swedish scholars, have worked on a discussion of the planetary boundaries and a safe operating space for humanity on the planet. And there is an interesting Netflix documentary if you'd like to have a look at it. And among those 9 planetary boundaries, there is one that has been consistently exceeded, that is biodiversity loss. And if you think about biodiversity loss, what do you think about? What species do you think about? Any species?
Polar bears.
Yes, polar bears.
Insects.
Yes, insects. Bees, yes. You think about them during the day. And you, night scholars, don't really think about bats, yes, nice, about biodiversity at night. And in fact, light pollution, ecological light pollution, which is defined as the impacts on us and on the ecosystems and on the wildlife, is increasing and affects the whole planet as a whole. For example, us Europeans, we are more than 99% who live under a polluted night sky. Same for Americans. And 1/3 of the total human population doesn't have access to the Milky Way, which is patrimony. So there are more than 60% of Europeans who don't have access to the Milky Way. So most of us have never seen the Milky Way. And this is a global phenomenon that is expanding. Shifting doesn't work. Oh, the planet was supposed to turn, and I was a bit proud about it. Apparently, it works on my computer, but not here. So imagine the planet turning around. It was very nice. In fact, I can show you on my computer afterwards. So that phenomenon is constantly increasing by 6% each year. So for biodiversity, light pollution is quite an easy pollution to revert. We just have to switch off the light. Yeah. Obviously, this is not a solution. So for biodiversity, for example, switching off the lights will allow turtles, baby turtles, hatching to the sea. Because, for example, if you have a nest of turtles and a road that is lit behind it, the turtles tend to be, in fact, the turtles use the light to go to the sea. If there is a space that is way more lit than the sea with only the moon, turtles tend to go towards the road, and I won't tell the end of the story. Insects, maybe not sexy, but insects are the base of the chain of the ecosystems, and they are attracted to light. Light works as a barrier, preventing them from moving, from finishing their trips, from foraging, from mating. And same for migrating birds, for example, they get disoriented. So there are many impacts of light. Yesterday, during Kahal's presentation, she asked us about what we need to feel safe in the public space, yeah, at night. I was amazed. I didn't have time to take a picture of it, but the main theme in the center of the things that you guys brought up was light. Light, public lighting, and derivatives were at the center of the preoccupations. So indeed, light is needed for us humans to move, so for mobility at night, for activities, for inclusivity of the public space. So there is a need to balance the needs for darkness, for biodiversity, and the needs for light for us humans to feel safe, to be safe in the public space, and to be able to pursue our activities at night. And that's what makes this research fascinating, and I think we will all agree on that, because night is an interdisciplinary object, because all the themes that are brought up by the night are entangled in complex ways, and it's interesting to really see the different aspects of the night. Normally the reference fitted on the side, maybe there is a change between my computer and here, but I can give you the reference afterwards. So I'm interested in this topic. Normally there is a line, a progression of this presentation above, but we don't see that much, sorry. So after this brief introduction, I'll get to my territory, my study area. If you have a look at that atlas of artificial night sky brightness, which is relatively famous, you see the redder and the whiter is the most affected by light pollution, by artificial light. And us Northern Europeans, Netherlands, Belgium, are very much affected. And on the picture on the right, we see what on the left is sodium lamps, and on the right it's a projection of the artificial brightness brought by 4000 Kelvin LED light emitting diode lamps. So we are heavily affected. And my region, here Wallonia, I don't know if you've been there, nice region, is also heavily affected. And I don't know if you know about Thomas Pesquet, who is famous in French-speaking countries, is an astronaut, and he takes nice pictures of the Earth, and he spotted Wallonia as a very densely lit area. So this makes my region interesting to study in terms of light pollution and mitigation measures. You see, it's geographically, it's made up of woods, rural area, and very dense cities. And you can see them connected. The most densely populated areas are connected by roads. So mobility, road lights are seen from the space. And this image is given by Neiva. So if you want to have a look at your place, it's very interesting to see how lit your place is. I just talked about LED lighting. This is also interesting because Wallonia is experiencing a socio-technical transition from orange sodium lamps to white lights, LED lights, which in fact affects more the biodiversity because there are more blue wavelength in the white LED light. So this makes Wallonia an interesting study area for my doctoral research. So, as I told you, I won't present one paper, but the general idea of the thesis and how everything connects. And if you'd like to discuss some topics more, if you'd like to give me ideas, I'd be glad to exchange. For the research, we followed a funnel process, starting organized in 4 chapters, with a progressive approach to the region. In the first one, we focus on the Walloon region and its microenvironment. In the second one, we focus on the actors, who is responsible for lighting, who buys lighting, how are they interconnected, what is at stake, and how do we make things a bit more sustainable, how do we push more sustainable policies, we don't push them, but from discussions with these professional actors in the region, we saw that the buyers, the local authorities who are responsible for public lighting and the policies in their territory, they in a way hide behind the population. When we talk with them, they say that they won't try new policies or reductions of public lighting in some areas of the territory because they expect the population to be very much against any reduction of public lighting because of safety issues. So we wanted to objectify that a bit and ask the people directly, and then get a bit deeper into citizens and ask about their fears at night, how they feel at night, with all the limits of this research. So I'll get rapidly through each paper. Okay, I think there was a problem between my PowerPoint and this one. So the first chapter is entitled Towards Sustainable Public Lighting Management in Wallonia, so a social, ecological, technical system analysis. The theoretical background is the work of Elinor Ostrom, who was one of the first female Nobel Prize of Economics, who considers social ecological systems, and we consider the macro environment of Wallonia to identify potential threats and opportunities for more sustainable practices, and for that we use a quite known technique in management studies, which is a PESTEL analysis, so political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal analysis, to really understand all these aspects. What are the political aspects of the macro environment, of the management of the night in the region? And if you'd like, I hope it yes it works. If you'd like to have a look, this paper has just been published last month. And if you'd like to have a look at it, to read a bit more deeply our results, it is here. Here. Good, works, perfect. That's for the first paper. What should be written is the fact that this paper is under review and the title of the paper, etc. Sorry. So it's we now built on the results of the first chapter. We wanted to dive a bit deeper with the actors of public lighting. Therefore, we collected qualitative data based on semi-structured interviews with the people responsible for lighting, technical, local authorities, vendors of lighting, like Miguel, for example. We discussed them using a Delphi method in 3 rounds to progressively come up with this rather complicated link of actors, network of actors. If I zoom on it, it looks like that, but you won't see many more details. And in fact, we identify one main triad of actors, that is the public authority, the people who decide, who are responsible for lighting on their territory, the distribution system operators, the technical intercommunal organization responsible for putting light, electricity in the lamps, if I may say, and the vendors who provide the technology. And we see that depending on the context, the relationship evolved from a line relationship. The vendor provides the goods to the technical experts who push them in the different municipalities. In some municipalities, you see that there is a link that is created between the authorities and the vendors, who can discuss together the technology, who can discuss what is actually needed and what more sustainable lighting can be implemented in some municipalities. And these topographies, these types of relationships evolve with the size of the central actor, the DSO, with smaller actors who are less in a monopoly situation, you tend to have a bit more space to discuss sustainable lighting. Again, civil society is an important driving force for the local authorities, and we wanted to go a bit deeper and ask the population. Again, we built on the previous work of paper 1, and we did a rapid press analysis of the theme of public lighting, and we see that during the energy crisis following the war in Ukraine, there was a peak of discussion of the subject in the media, because I don't know in your countries, I guess it was a bit the same as in Belgium, but we talked about reducing lighting because it was way too expensive. That's why we asked, we surveyed the population on 3 occasions, just before the Ukraine war, in February, March 2022, during the energy crisis, at the heart of the energy crisis, and right now. Sorry, you're not balloons, so you cannot answer our survey. So we collected quantitative data, asking basic demographic data, and if the people would be willing to accept reductions in public lighting. And I cannot wait to see the results now, because if I show you the results, for example, in the first survey, we asked people if they would be willing to accept reductions in general on highways and on different types of roads, if they would be willing to accept those reductions. And then we gave a definition of light pollution, just as I provided you at the beginning of the presentation. And we asked exactly the same questions to exactly the same people. Would you be willing to accept reductions of public lighting? It has limits, obviously, in the methodology, but we see the darker, the less willing to accept reductions, mitigation measures. And we see that when we explain, again, it has limitations. When we explain, people tend to accept a bit more of those mitigation measures. And the same before the energy crisis, so in first survey and then in survey 2, we asked exactly the same questions in the same terms. Would you be willing to accept reductions of public lighting on different types of roads? And you see that, again, during the energy crisis, people tended to accept more reductions of public lighting. And yes, honestly, I cannot wait to see the results now, because I doubt that people would be that much willing now to accept reductions of public lighting, now that the local authorities are discussing to re-light their streets, because electricity is much cheaper than it was 2 years ago. That's for chapter 3. Now chapter 4, again based on the same surveys, we used in fact logistic regression analysis in both surveys to understand what factors explain the, so I just showed brief descriptive statistics, but in fact the heart of the paper is logistic regression, to see what demographic data, parameters, mobility habits, and here factors like change of behavior, declared change of behavior, can impact the acceptance of reductions of public lighting. Coming to the end of my presentation, so we organized, as a reminder, in a funnel process for research, analyzing the microenvironment, analyzing the actors, how they are interconnected, analyzing the people and their fears. This leads us to the objective, the target of the doctoral work, which is, in fact, I started my doctoral research on the idea of biodiversity corridors. That is, you have a map, you have 2 hearts of biodiversity, which are fragmented because of our human activities, and you try to reconnect them in order for the biodiversity to move freely, which would impede all the problems that won't impede all problems, but it would reduce all problems that I discussed at the beginning of the presentation. Usually, and it's mostly studied in France, for example, We tend to think about green corridors, blue corridors, but we tend to overlook the night component of the day, the whole day. That's why I'm interested in dark corridors, and the idea is to really put the biodiversity aspects, minimize the impact of biodiversity, subject to constraint, or we will change it depending on the formulation of the model, but subject to the needs for safety, and how do we manage to decide what points we maintain or not in the local context of Colonia. And I hope, again, I think the map had to turn, but it doesn't look like it's not turning, because we're turning. So I hope this approach could be applied to other local contexts, and in order to reflect on where we should maintain that, where we should switch off the lights in order to balance our needs for darkness and light. I thank you. It was very nice discussing. I hope we will discuss that afterwards, but I was very happy to talk about that subject that really fascinates me. So, yeah.
Thank you, Elodie, a lot for the great presentation. Should we do questions at the end after the following presentation? Is the other presenter online? One. Yeah. There's a microphone.
Is in there. Is that cycle thing?
Where? Should I leave it here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me just make sure. So, Sai, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Would you like to share your screen so we can see your presentation?
Yes, yes.
And we don't see you. I don't know if that's intentional. It's currently.
I'm sorry, I haven't switched on the camera. I'll do it. Just a minute. Now am I visible?
Yes, I think now people in the room can see you. I don't know if you can see me, but.
Yes, I'll just.
Right. And we still don't have your screen though.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, and if you could then put it also on full screen.
Yeah.
That would be great. And I couldn't find a short introduction about you, but maybe you can say a few words.
Hi, good afternoon. It's actually evening here, but good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sai Aitika. I'm a first year doctoral scholar at the Department of Architecture and Planning at Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. We are also known as IIT Roorkee. We are the institute is in the state of Uttarakhand in India, and I am a part of this research group called Happiness by Design, which works at the intersection of urban design and mental health. Which is led by our founder and my supervised PhD mentor, Assistant Professor Tina Pujara. And my PhD research I'm still in the first year of my PhD, and my research focuses on the relationship between cities after dark and mental health. So I'm still I'm still like narrowing down my topic. So I just thought it would be a great opportunity to meet others and get to know others who are working in this field. That's how I like applied to the conference. So today I'll be presenting on the topic, exploring the restorative impact of nocturnal ambiences. This topic draws from the insights of many scholars, like literature. It's a literature-based presentation. So basically, my presentation reflects my exploration of literature and how I have interpreted it within the context of my research. So, yeah. So this is the structure. And so it all began with the exploration of cities after dark. So when I was exploring the literature, I have found much literature. Light pollution is much talked upon, based on from different points of views and from different disciplines. So, and in the context of India, we don't as such have lighting master plans, is what I have found. So parallelly it is running. I'm trying to find why is that, or do we have? And I do. I mean, I have not got to that point yet. So, but it got me thinking. If we are talking about lighting and light pollution, and then there is a lot of research which talks about darkening cities. Uh, so where are we actually headed to? So that is where it all started. And then a little background. Cities after dark, like we all know, the distinction between the day and night has blurred as cities have increasingly transitioned towards becoming 24-hour ecosystems. And human beings, we are inherently diurnal and we have adapted to function at night. So, yet, how we perceive our surroundings during the day and during the night, there is a certain distinction between that. So, from an urban design perspective, during my training, during my education in an architecture school and later in my masters, which again in the discipline of urban design, nighttime. One observation is that nighttime has been consistently neglected. I've also found certain literature which talks about, from an urban design perspective, how nighttime is somewhat like kind of neglected. But in the recent years, much of the research is happening uh, in nighttime urbanism, in the field of nighttime urbanism. So through my research, by and large, I'm trying to explore darkness, urban design in the city after dark, and through sensescapes or design of lightscapes, smellscapes, and soundscapes. Can it actually have a restorative impact on the users? So these are the keywords which I've uh, I've used, and I've tried to find literature based on these keywords. And basically I would be further, I mean, moving down further, I would be working on nighttime well-being and through the design of urban spaces, through the design of built environment. So urban design and planning can positively influence mental health. This has been substantiated in literature. It's also been established that the creative urban design can support mental health recovery by facilitating relaxation. Uh, so thoughtful design of urban spaces after dark can plausibly enhance mental well-being by creating environments that promote safety and relaxation and social engagement, all while balancing illumination and preserving darkness. So uh, yes, like urban design and planning, it can. I mean, we work in the area of. We could possibly work in the area of dark, nighttime cities, and we are already already work is being done. So in the areas of lighting design, then CPTED, which is associated with the evening economy. I mean, which is essentially associated with safety after dark, and social infrastructure upgradation and integrating ecological systems in the design. And we have various values of darkness, and at the same time there are certain mental health issues which are associated with darkness or nighttime. So this is where largely I would be exploring day versus night, or there is a variation in our sensory perception. Like for example, during the day, because I come from a country where we have there is sunlight available predominantly for much of the year. So that's a little disclaimer. So, this doesn't change. Like during the day, the high level of light aids in activities which requires precision and detail. Uh, During the night, the vision is primarily reliant on rod cells. They are sensitive to light, but they don't detect color. So artificial lighting can create contrasting shadows, which may alter depth, perception, and visual clarity. And when it comes to the nose or smell or the olfactory, during the day, higher temperatures and sunlight can enhance diffusion of scents. So some scents may not be discernible, some may not be prominent. But during the night, as the temperature cools down and there's less air movement, certain smells are more noticeable and we are more sensitive to certain smells. And coming to the sound, during the day, there's a lot of traffic, there are a lot of noises which are arising from human activity. So sometimes the constant background noise makes it hard to pick out certain noises, specific sounds. But during the night, the reduced background noise, it makes the ambient sounds more prominent. Similarly, the surface temperature during the day, certain textures are easier to distinguish because it's hotter. But at night, drop in temperature makes surfaces feel cooler, and reduced visibility can heighten the reliance on touch. So, coming to the taste inherently doesn't change from day to night, but the settings in which food is being eaten and the availability of food, that can make a difference in how we feel. So, the transition from day and night can heighten awareness and sensitivity in some senses due to reduced visual input and changes in environmental conditions. So, this shift can lead to a richer or more nuanced sensory experience at night. So, when it comes to public spaces, according to research, light, sound, and smell, they are essential in creating vibrant and memorable environments. So certain methods such as sense walks and sound walks, there are certain studies which are in which sense walks and sound walks as a method are being used. And I had found some other interesting studies where in one they have talked about how the certain constitutive similarities in light and sound, and and in another study they have mapped up the smellscape generators. So these are all basically interesting things which I had found as a part of my literature explorations. Coming to nocturnal ambiences, in the context of this study, it refers to the sensory environment of urban spaces after dark, which are shaped by elements such as light, sound, and smell, which influence the way individuals experience and how they interact with the city at night. So, research indicates that well-designed nighttime settings can foster a sense of belonging and encourage outdoor activities. These are very beneficial for our individual's mental health. And further, when I tried to categorize the literature which I had found in this in related to this domain, so I had tried to quantify because I started initially with the plausibility of exploring lighting master plans, or maybe on the contrary, maybe the darkening master plans. So I have tried to list down the components of master plans usually in my Indian context. So I had listed down the components of a master plan, and then general spatial qualities that are ideally expected from a public space, like aesthetics, accessibility, inclusivity, safety, etc. And specifically for urban design, further, these are like broader. Further, I have from the works of Ian Bentley and Kevin Lynch, I have listed down a few urban design qualities which seem relevant, such as permeability, variety, legibility, robustness. All of this much related to urban design, but the other disciplines, other point of views in which I had found literature were basically from a political political theme, or from a technological point of view, from an economy point of view, etc. So further, when I had narrowed down, when I had looked into what as urban designers, as how we can deal with these, uh, which are relevant to the Indian context, there has been some certain work not exactly related to mental health domain, but in terms of night markets, nightlife. So we have an information technology industry associated informality, like and light pollution, nocturnal habitats, physical health, mental health, etc. And on an urban design scale, the work has been done from the point of view of streetscapes, uh, design based on color, temperature of light, fauna-friendly lighting design, walkability, public art, tactical urbanism, etc. So from this, a few months ago, I was in Malaysia. So the night markets there seemed from this, I had initially started exploring the topic of night markets. And coincidentally, I was in Malaysia at that time. So I was specifically in Kota Kinabalu. So where I have found two interesting markets, which I have a few photographs through which I'll give a glimpse of it. So from where there are different sensory experiences, like one can the the experience in each market is different from because it's different mainly from is different from where I come from, like from the Indian context. So I found it interesting. So I would be showing a few photographs. So basically, the question, I mean, I'd come down to this question when I was in Malaysia. How can the sensory design enhance nighttime street experience to be restorative for users? So the first market is the Todak Waterfront Hawker Center. So basically, it's a hawker market which is close, which is adjacent to this waterfront, and uh, it's a wet market, and also it has stalls which cater to the needs of the residents and tourists. Like we can, I mean, they have various seafood delicacies, as well as they have fruit stalls and fruit stalls, etc. So the interesting part to note was the configuration of the space. The seating areas, it was made sure that the wet market has a strong scent. The cooking areas also have a certain kind of a strong scent. So these are configured to be in the middle of the market, whereas the seating areas and much of the are close to the waterfront. So in terms of smell, there was when one is walking through the market, the different areas, the difference with the different areas can be experienced through the scent, through the distinct scent. And lighting, the kind of lighting that we have had in the seating areas versus the lighting where one can pick out uh, these uh, these vegetables and the other seafood items. Um, uh, they are uh, again, they have a different kind of a lighting. And the spatial layout is given in such a way that there are certain live performances happening by the local artists. And even the placement of these artists is also the layout allows for these artists to set up their tent and give a performance. And it is given in such a way that there is no interference between the two soundscapes, which are both the sounds, I mean, the sound emerging from both the artists. This is in a different location, and that is in a different location, which was found interesting. So the sound, light, and scent, all of these added up to the experience of this market. And the next one is the Api Api Night Food Market on Gaya Street. So again, here, if we can see on the first photograph on the left, the lighting, as well as if we look at the colors of the fruits, cut fruits, all of these are, it's like a visual treat. All of these add up to the ambience of the place. And uh, there was a similar kind of a segregation of cooking areas and vending areas and the kind of articles that were being sold. So there was a distinct scent and the lighting, and it could be understood. Uh, And another interesting part is the layout. These are actually technically this part where people are actually seated on the ground. Uh, During the day, it is not a completely pedestrianized street, but at nights, the traffic it's completely closed for vehicular movement, and people residents and tourists who come here, they buy the articles there and they are seated on the floor and they eat and they enjoy their evening and they go about it. And the configuration of the buildings allows also for a setting like this to happen. It is very vibrant and it totally adds up to the experience, which was very new for me. So to conclude, recognition of 24/7 city 24-hour ecosystems necessitates designs that cater to nighttime experience as well. So incorporating the sensory aspects could potentially enhance the impact of these initiatives and create restorative urban spaces for the citizens. So my learnings from both my from the literature as well as my observations from the markets have only come down to this thing that which I have to further explore is that smell, sound, and light indeed they create a very calming and relaxing environment. And while cities like certain cities like we are running towards lighting master plans, I've studied certain lighting master plans as well, which are not from my context but from the other context. So there is yet a need for the inclusion of the mental health dimension so far in the literature, what I found. So this has not been kind of included. So moving forward to so what is the future of cities after dark? So can we think about darkening master plans instead of lighting master plans? And that's where I end my facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Afternoon. I'm Nancy Gonlin from Bellevue College in Washington State, USA. Today I present on planning, practicality, and affordances of nocturnal performances, archaeological case studies from ancient Mesoamerica's past. Introduction. Night and darkness have long been used as tools to enhance sensations and manipulate feelings of fear and anxiety, as well as intimacy and connection. Power could be easily communicated under such circumstances of altered awareness. Rulers across the ancient world counted on compromised reactions to influence their followers during dark performances. The intentional control of light symbolized supremacy over the elements and conferred dominance to a select few who directed and acted in such performances. Ancient Mesoamerica. During the late classic period of Mesoamerica, 600 to 900 CE, Maya kings and queens ruled over thousands of subjects and generated connections with their deities to create divine monarchs. The area of Mesoamerica includes central and southern Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, western Honduras, and western El Salvador. It is where indigenous groups built hierarchical societies as materialized in opulent palaces, towering temples, grand plazas, a complex set of writing and mathematics, as well as extravagant artifacts. Content of this presentation. This presentation is an archaeological case study of late classic Mayas. This map shows just some of their cities. It incorporates the archaeology of the night, including sensory stimulation, theatrical performances, the space of the plaza, and dance to enhance our understanding of expressions of power in the past. Royal theatrics. Like many monarchs throughout history, late classic Maya kings and queens of Mesoamerica performed a wide variety of acts in diverse venues. These types of media conveyed cosmological concepts and gender expectations and were laden with political import, as this particular polychrome pottery vase shows. Their theatrics formed an essential part of royal duties that held together the community of people who were their followers. Given the content of some performances, it is likely that some of them occurred at night. I examined nocturnal performances, primarily ritual in nature, that the late classic Maya staged, conducted, and watched. Performance theory. The setting of the night was artfully used by royalty to heighten aspects of display and spectacle. These terms, performance, ritual, and spectacle, have been deconstructed by Maya archaeologist Takeshi Inomata and Stephen Houston. These concepts are not equal by any measure, though overlap is intrinsic. Irving Goffman defines performance in a broad sense, quote, all activity of an individual which occurs during a period marked by his continuous presence before a particular set of observers and which has some effect on the observers, end quote. Ritual. Ritual, according to Roy Rappaport, can be thought of as, quote, the performance of more or less invariant sequences of formal acts and utterances not entirely decoded by the performers, end quote. Houston considers that spectacle is, quote, inherently staged and achieves greater intensity by including a welter of central and marginal activities and central and marginal people, end quote. And thus, he rightly states that, quote, not all performances, however, would be spectacles, nor are all performances rituals, end quote. Large-scale performances may be labeled public events or spectacles following Inomata. Location of performance. A quintessential element of classic Maya construction is the plaza. It is a hallmark of Maya site layout, from the smallest and most remote of household groups to the grandest urban palace to the plaza of the city center that could accommodate thousands of people. Pictured here is the main plaza of Bonampak, with numerous terraces and temples, ideal locations for performing. A living plaza. But unlike residential patios, the open spaces of city centers held stone monoliths or stela, such as this one pictured here from Copan, altars, and valuable caches. Following Houston, quote, instead of being empty and featureless, plazas and platforms could have been reconfigured by temporary placement of structures, banners, or parasols whose position would change the use and meaning of ambiance space, end quote. The city's plaza was alive, it portrayed the history of the kingdom, and it was ideal for polity-wide performances. Roads or sakbi. Residents of some cities connected their plazas by well-constructed roads or sakbi in Mayan that were raised passageways, sometimes plastered a brilliant white, such as this one from the Yucatan Peninsula. Such roads or causeways, analyzed by William and Barbara Fash, quote, were designed to funnel large numbers of people, likely in ritual pilgrimages, to great public plazas for public ceremonies, end quote. Types of communication. Performances in large plazas by necessity relied upon nonverbal communication to relay significant messages to the populace, as pictured here on this polychrome vase. Jerry Moore observes that, quote, as the distance between participants increases, differing modes of communication, paralinguistic, verbal, and nonverbal, will vary in importance, space, and perception filter the modes of communication, end quote. Archaeological evidence. Material evidence for performances comes in many forms. The city's plazas, as discussed above, provided an ideal venue for large gatherings where performers were visible to crowds from terraces and platforms, such as this view from Caracol, Belize. Gleaming white roads that connected plazas and temples effectively funneled protagonists and spectators alike, especially in the dark. Decorated stela that dot the plaza showcase rulers in their costumes, as do numerous painted pottery vessels where kings and queens are pictured in elaborate attire. Incredible artifacts. Unique artifacts recovered from Guatemala, the site of Aguateca, were recovered due to the rapid abandonment of the city when it fell around AD 810. Among the items left behind were ceramic drums and a ceramic mask, this one pictured here. In the storage rooms of the royal palace, artifacts clearly used for theatrical performances, as well as numerous musical instruments such as conch horns, flutes, whistles, drums, and bone rasps. Paintings. Murals such as those at Bonampak, Mexico, pictured here, provide details about the stage and the accoutrement typical of large-scale performances, as well as the musical instruments that comprised part of the setting. Dancing in the dark. One effective way the classic Maya rulers portrayed symbolically laden messages to the masses was through the art of dance. Wearing colorful, large costumes during performance made nonverbal communication a guaranteed way to hold the attention of thousands of attendees. Maya monarchs danced for many reasons, such as royal accession, astronomical events, victory in war, acknowledgement of royal visits, new fire ceremonies, New Year ceremonies, and other rituals. Dancing was perceived as part of royal duties, and following Sarah Jackson's analysis, it was not uncommon for dance to be a ritual to end the day. Deity impersonation. Deity impersonation was a regular occurrence among royal Maya men and women. Houston writes that such impersonation, quote, appears to involve a concurrence rather than a displacement of identities, end quote. Note that several Maya deities were associated with the night, such as the moon goddess, the jaguar god of the underworld, hunting gods, and fire-drilling jaguar deities. As pictured on this stela, Lady Ok Ayin from the Western Maya area of Yomap donned the regalia to identify her as the moon goddess, and she danced. Piedras Negras, Panel 3. The commemoration of a dance to celebrate a royal visit to Piedras Negras, Guatemala, occurred in 749 CE. On lintel 3, writing and sculpture attest to the hosting of a royal personage from Yaxchilan, a neighboring formal rival city. Dancing and drink took place at night, all part of the celebrations to mark the anniversary of a king's accession to the throne. In this instance, the king performed the descending macaw dance to a private audience. Viewers partook in a feast, and afterward, they drank hot, inebriating cacao beverages. Lighting the performance. A full moon provides sufficient nocturnal lighting without the interference of artificial lights. Analysis by Landau, Hernandez, and Gonlin of 84 accession dates representing 11 major classic Maya cities revealed, quote, it is twice as likely for a ruler to come to power under a new or a full moon than on any other given day, end quote. These two phases of the moon are especially associated with rain, fertility, and abundance. Given the intricate connections of royal accessions, dance, and agriculture, it is no surprise that this pattern is borne out. Lighting the night. Many a palace depicted on painted pottery has been illuminated by an attendant bearing a torch, an item that would have been essential for politicking that took place inside dark buildings with stone walls and roofs. It is not known for certain whether wall sconces were part of nighttime lighting in stone palaces, though there are soot marks along walls as seen in this photo of a building at Cajalpesh, Belize. Moving to the plaza, one can envision the area ablaze in light from torches strategically placed to outline structures, walkways, and the tops of pyramids to great theatrical effect. Mary Miller and Simon Martin note that the Maya themselves recorded nocturnal events such as feasting that presumably took place by torchlight in the plaza. Censers, portable hearths that could be fashioned from many materials. Stone censers have been found throughout the Acropolis at Copan, Honduras, and were used in ceremonies. This one is decorated with a bat head and cacao pods. Clay censers were used by householders across the Maya world to light and perfume the night, including this vessel from Copan. Experiencing the performance. Sensory archaeology is useful at this juncture to envision the effects of the night on performers and spectators alike. The attraction of nocturnal performances was inescapable. The nightscape offered greater communion with ancestors, spirits, humans, and other beings, and the ambiance was dark. Excuse me. The ambiance was heightened by darkness, coolness, and closeness to others. In a large plaza in the classic Maya city center at night, such as this one at Tikal, Guatemala, smoke-filled air was perfumed with copal incense, the smell of burning pine torches, and the aroma of tobacco, plus the sweat of thousands of citizens milling about. These sensations were heightened by people bumping into each other, jockeying for the best position to see the spectacle of their king and queen, and scuffling about on a hard earthen floor or paved floor with bare feet or leather sandals. Drums and trumpets, rattles played in unison and increased the cacophony of noise from the festival goers anxiously waiting for the appearance of their royalty. Affordances of the night. Above the fraying crowd, the royal performers were dressed and ready to go, their senses heightened by the impatient gatherers. Temperature and humidity were lower than during the day, much to the relief of those enrobed in heavy costumes and those in the crowded plaza. Planning and practicalities of performance. What were these practical considerations for which organizers of nocturnal royal performances had to accommodate? While the affordances of tropical nights were more suitable than steaming sun-drenched days for fire rituals and dancing, issues of lighting, water, and transportation remained central to all concerned. Economic impacts needed to be fully considered and logistics taken into account. For example, for those nighttime performances that were public, fuel was expensive, fire was dangerous, and the populace had to wend their way home in the dark where ominous beings lurked. Food and drink, the length of a performance and its aftermath may have warranted the existence of food stalls and places to obtain water or other drink. Lisa Lucero notes that, quote, audience size was influenced by how much water royals had at their disposal in the massive artificial reservoirs located next to temples and palaces, end quote. Murals from Calakmul, Mexico, inform us about the many types of vendors that sold goods and served the populace day or night. Seasonality may also have played a role in the staging of rituals, according to Lucero. Cooler nights during the dry season would have been ideal for scheduling performances from both the performance and viewer perspectives, especially when a full moon provided natural lighting. For the majority of accession dates that have been recovered thus far, over 2/3 of them occurred during the rainy season rather than the wet season. Conclusion. The manipulation of the night by rulers of the past had a critical impact on their politics. Dancing in the dark was about far more than deity impersonation. It symbolized connection to the heavens, power, and control of resources. Rulers knew how to influence their subjects' cognitive and affective dimensions of the human relationship with the night sky. The essential element of the plaza as part of late classic Maya cities relates to the significance of performative spaces for royalty. Through the nonverbal communication form of dance with elaborate costumes, kings and queens were visible to the masses, whether perched on dance platforms, structure terraces, or the plaza. Thousands of revelers soaked in the nocturnal ambience that heightened their senses and communion with the seen and unseen. Without the interference of modern lighting, a dark sky full of stars awaited the celebrants who traveled home by the light of the moon after witnessing thrilling theatrical performances by their leaders. Thank you for listening. A note of appreciation to Dr. Manuel Garcia Ruiz for once again organizing this conference. Gratitude is due to Dr. Viswanathan and Dr. Reed for the editorial input. Many thanks to my fellow archaeologists who kindly shared photos, images, and maps. And here are my references.